When it comes to professional wrestling, if you are talking about it, we are talking about it. Welcome to the Wrestle Chat Podcast with the Ant-Man.
Welcome to the weekend, y'all, and welcome to another episode 33 of the Wrestle Chat Podcast. I'm your host, the Ant-Man, Michael Glavin. Good to have you back. Been a good week this week?
Absolutely. It's been good. Things have been busy in professional and personal lives. You know, I'm chasing kids around, making sure things are staying on the up and up around the house. But the one thing I look forward to every week is getting to talk shop at the water cooler with my main man about everything in the professional wrestling world.
Absolutely. And we love chatting with you guys, too, because these questions on our Instagram have been a lot of fun. We asked this at the end of last week's show. Would you like to see John Cena win the world title for the 17th time and break Ric Flair's record? Alan Sheffitz said, yes, I do. Short and simple. I like it, Alan. Matt Mather 77. Yes, because he's my favorite wrestler. And I believe he is the greatest wrestler of them all. Matt really buying into the GOAT moniker with John Cena there. Packer Lover 34. Absolutely. Mark the Gentleman Brown says, yes, because I'm sick of Ric Flair. Seems like a good enough reason for me. Personally, I love the idea of setting a new record with this. Too bad Flair is over in AEW right now. You know, on the last run with John, imagine him coming back and starting something with Seth, win the title, break the record, drop it to another guy, giving them the rub on the way out. The celebration of both wins would have been absolutely huge. You know, Cena breaking the record, of course, and then someone else, maybe like Damian Priest cashing in during a rematch with Cena and Seth. Oh, what could have been? That would have been fun. Michael, what's your thought here? Would you like to see John Cena get one more run with the title and break Flair's record 16 times?
Absolutely. It's cool because it's a way for Cena to pick up a title with no one to have really an expectation of him holding it for an extended period of time.
Of course.
Really, it's about capturing it, not necessarily retaining it. My fear, though, is that they may be potentially saving that accolade for Charlotte and trying to shift that record over to the women's side of the table. Now, don't get me wrong, you know, we've talked about Charlotte a lot on the show. She's a great athlete, but her entire career has been significantly rushed, and in the matter of, well, probably a decade, you know, she did what took Ric Flair probably 30 years,
exactly.
to do. And so, and same thing with Cena. I mean, Cena's been around for, 20 years, and they are within one or two title reigns of each other. And so, not taking anything away from, a woman holding a record, that's not what I'm saying. It's not a problem, but to say that Charlotte should capture that, not my thing. So I'm going to hold out hope that we get one more run of John Cena for that big 1-7 title reign.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I appreciate everyone who chimed in on this question. If you're not following us yet, we're on Instagram at Wrestle Chat Podcast. Follow us there. At the end of the show this week, we'll share a new question of the week. One new member for sure. JD McDonough got his official Judgment Day vest from Damian Priest on this week's Raw, but as the show went off the air, we saw Rhea and Drew McIntyre shaking hands after Drew cost Cody and Jay the tag titles in the rematch with Damian and Finn. Michael Cole and Wade Barrett, they didn't explicitly say that Drew was a new member of Judgment Day. However, Finn Balor did share a couple of pieces of art on his Instagram from Black Mass Design that clearly show 5 men and 1 woman as Judgment Day. To me, that says Drew McIntyre is officially a member of this faction. This has many, many implications, one of which could actually really affect Survivor Series and that big match with Judgment Day and Team Cody. I don't want to get too much into that aspect of it right here, right this second, because we have a question that goes with that a little bit later on in the show. But Michael, were you shocked to see Drew attack Jay and then close the show shaking hands with pretty much the leader of Judgment Day?
I can't say shocked. Obviously, Drew's been teasing some friction with a lot of people on the roster, breaking free of what I've said in the past is the Rocky Maivia vibe. So really, as much as I shouldn't feel this way, I'm like, cool. Drew's actually got some edge to him now, which is fantastic. I think we're potentially seeing the beginning pawns being moved around that could have some big implications, in the months and maybe the next year to come. Obviously a faction being this big, the only time we can really connect it to something is when pretty much the entire WCW roster was a part of the NWO in one form or fashion. And so, Judgment Day is getting a little big. And I think that's for a reason. I think with Damian holding the briefcase, we're seeing some friction around Damian. I think it could be that Damian might break off and we need another big player in the game like Drew to kind of step in there that has a little bit more experience. Obviously, JD McDonough is not green by any stretch of the imagination, but he's newer to the group. And so there's a lot of pieces that you can tell that are circling around. And either way, I'm here for it. I'm a huge JD McDonough fan. I'm glad that from a storyline perspective, he has a place in the Judgment Day now. I do hope Drew is now a part of that. I think it makes a lot of sense and is definitely a departure from the things that he's done in the past. So really excited about everything that's going on here, and I'm excited to see kind of what transpires, especially as we get closer to Mania season.
I like Drew as a heel too. A heel Drew, I think, is better than a baby face. Hit us up, comment on this episode with your thoughts of Drew aligning with Judgment Day. This is not the only podcast that Michael Glavin is a part of. In fact, you got one that comes out a day before this podcast. It's called the Man-Child Chronicles podcast. Tell us a little bit about how you guys formed, when you guys got together, and why you started this podcast and what it's all about.
Yeah, well, the short version of the story is during the COVID lockdowns, everybody got bored, and so we hopped on FaceTime and developed a few games to play, literally just via the iPad, talking to each other and doing stupid stuff, and everything kind of came back, and we all got back to work, and we're like, hey, we miss doing that, and there was just a few conversations of like, well, why don't we keep doing it again? But it's so dumb. Why don't we record it and put it on the internet with no expectation for anybody to watch? And so that was kind of the formation of the Man-Child Chronicles. It's four friends talking about movies, TV, entertainment, sports. It's really random and it's really dumb. And we play a lot of games that center around movies and things like that. And so I would encourage you guys, if you love movies, if you love pop culture, if you love entertainment, and you just love dark humor and stupidity, come check us out every Friday on the Man-Child Chronicles. We're available on all the places that you listen to podcasts, and we also have video available on YouTube.
Yeah, in fact, if you want to watch some of those videos on YouTube, here on this channel, if you'll scroll down to other channels that we love, the Man-Child Chronicles podcast is right there. Click on it. You can watch all those. You can hit subscribe and stay connected too. Once again, he spoke in Japanese, and the captions read this: I'm frustrated. You're blessed with so much privilege, so I'm taking away your choice. The opportunity is mine now. These distractions have not taken my focus off of you. Win or lose your next battle, you will only be less than. Not my problem. I'll wait for now, because I know it all ends by my hands. Those are the words of Shinsuke Nakamura. The direction they're pointed, though, anyone's guess. My first thought, Michael, is that he's just not done with Seth Rollins. There's no other real credible threat to Seth right this very moment. And because I know it all ends by my hands, I don't know what else he could be talking about. But I do love the mystique. I love the intrigue. Any guesses for you on who Shin could be referring to in these promos?
No particular guess, but it's obviously someone that has something to lose. So yes. It could be someone that's in a good tag team or a faction. It could be, maybe Shinsuke's making another run at the Intercontinental Championship.
Could be.
Who knows? He had a very lackluster Intercontinental title reign. What better way to square up again than to face Gunther, the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion? But just a quick note, it is just incredible the complete 360 that Shinsuke Nakamura has done in front of us in such a short period of time. And we're always very careful. It's not old establishment bad, new establishment good. But it seemed like there was always a reason to not lean into Shinsuke Nakamura, in recent years for one reason or another. Yeah. And now just within this last year, it's like, hey, he's foreign. He doesn't speak very good English. He's got this traditional samurai strong style vibe thing going on. Let's just do that. And shocker, it works well. And so even with this super mysterious promo, the dude can just lay it on. He knows his character. He knows who he is. And this compared to Shinsuke Nakamura a year and a half ago is just such a phenomenal product and thing to watch. So I don't care who he's talking about because I'll enjoy it no matter what.
There was one word, though, that actually makes me now second guess my thought, and I'm wondering if it's not. Well, the word was your privilege. I wonder if he's not going after Cody and calling him out now before Survivor Series. I mean, Cody's the only one I kind of feel that has any kind of privilege in WWE right now. Sure. It's not our official question of the week, but we'd still like you to chime in on this conversation. Who could Shin be talking about here? Drop a comment on this episode or hit us up on Instagram at WrestleChat Podcast. Moving over to AEW 2 months ago. Yes, it's been 2 months now. We saw someone, presumably other than MJF, wearing the devil mask. Said that it was stolen from MJF's locker. And they attacked other wrestlers backstage. And here in the last 8 weeks, we've seen the AEW Devil pop up at random times, even interrupting interviews. There have been many, many speculations. I'm sure there have been countless clues dropped. We've heard it's everyone from Adam Cole to MJF himself to CM Punk. Only fueled by Punk's social media posts. I think he's just kind of having fun with people thinking that it's him. I'm going to throw a name in that hasn't been mentioned in connection with the Devil Mask yet. I'm going to say Ric Flair. Half kidding there. Later tonight is AEW's Full Gear, live from LA's Kia Forum. Michael, do you expect Scooby and Shaggy to unmask the devil? And if so, do you expect it to be anyone other than Old Man Withers?
I love a good build. I always like to call back. There's very few things in the wrestling industry that are new, and I just hope this works out better than the gobbledygooker did back in the day. But it's obviously what's happening very cool and is very cool. And the scuttlebutt behind the scenes is that whoever is behind the mask in these promos and the devil mob that surrounds him is the person that is going to be playing the character on the other side of it too. And so do I have any great guesses? No, because this segment has been played super well. It's very low key. Whatever clues that may or may not exist are very hidden. And I love the teases that we've gotten over time too, because if you've paid attention, the mask finds itself in a resting condition in various situations and places throughout the recent months on TV. We've seen it, in the locker room behind Adam Cole. We've seen it laying around in other different places. And so they're definitely sticking it to us in terms of making us wonder about what it is. But either way, it's really, really cool, really fun.
There's also another little wrinkle here that could involve the devil mask, and we're going to get to that here shortly. But first, the Vault. It was 1987's Great American Bash, where we saw Dusty Rhodes' vision for War Games actually come to life. The first time I ever saw two rings side by side in an arena together. What in the world are they going to do with these? Why do you have two rings? Well, the Road Warriors and the Four Horsemen showed us. I was going to hit rewind for our Wrestle Chat Vault this week. However, not even on Peacock do they have the full first War Games match. I think in part because it was under NWA and that banner and not WCW, that very first one anyway. You can watch short clips, kind of a highlight on YouTube if you want to check that out. That's cool. But in my search, I found something else, and it involves War Games. It's Dusty talking about how he came up with a concept. So rather than spoil it here, I'll put the link in the description of this episode to that conversation with Dusty Rhodes. One, it's just cool to hear Dusty tell a story. An amazing storyteller. I say a lost art in most cases. And second, the technology in 1987 just does not compare to what we have today. So to hear how inventive they were in creating this concept, it's one you got to see before next weekend's Survivor Series and Cody Rhodes' very first War Games match. See and hear Dusty explain how he made the first War Games match happen in the Wrestle Chat Vault this week. We've got the link under the heading The Vault in the description of this episode. Now, a couple of weeks ago, Michael, you mentioned watch out for Carlito. He could be a catalyst for dissension within the LWO. Well, Friday, we did see Carlito involved in one member excommunicating themselves. Carlito accused Santos of being the one who left the brass knucks on the apron for Logan Paul to use on Rey Mysterio at Crown Jewel. After Carlito's match and a subsequent beatdown, while Rey Mysterio bent down to check on Carlito, it was Santos who jumped him. Santos, I guess, is obviously out of the LWO, leaving everyone asking, why Santos, why? I like where this is headed, and I like how they handled it on the show. It came at a time, really after everyone had already expected a turn from Santos, and we didn't see it. So you kind of almost expected nothing to ever happen. Michael, how are you feeling about the first brick crumbling in the LWO faction?
We definitely saw it coming. I mean, it's something that they've teased a long way off, and credit to everybody involved for not rushing this, because just like you said just now, this is something we thought had already come and gone and wasn't going to happen. But it was very, very subtle seeds of frustration and jealousy and dissension and all these things that finally culminated. And the thing that I loved about it is that they didn't paint it in a full hard turn by Santos. If you go back and watch the video of that match, he set them down chasing after someone else. And it wasn't this, or didn't appear to be, this deliberate thing that he wanted Rey Mysterio to lose. But in the disagreement and in the frustration and in the heat, it caused someone to lose their cool and turn on a friend and a father figure. Yeah. And so just poetry in motion done in this storyline. But, we talked about it in recent weeks. LWO was feeling kind of full with the addition of Carlito and everything that's going on and creating this storyline. Obviously we know now that Rey Mysterio has just undergone knee surgery. We don't have a timetable of when he's going to return yet. So what does that mean? Does it mean that we're going to shelf this feud until he comes back? Is Carlito going to pick up that mantle and kind of feud in that place for Rey Mysterio? It's been great all around. You always hate to see, great groups break apart, but there's always that gold nugget in the middle of groups breaking apart, and it's when the groups fight each other. So it's good stuff.
See, Judgment Day, this is what happens when your group gets too big, so watch out.
That's right.
Listen, we'd love to hear your feedback too. How are you feeling about the LWO, Carlito, and Santos? Drop a comment on this episode or drop us a message on our Instagram at WrestleChat Podcast. As we mentioned earlier, AEW's Full Gear is tonight on pay-per-view, and Tony Khan posted this on Twitter on Wednesday just before Dynamite. AEW has agreed to terms with one of the world's best wrestlers, a pro who is known and respected by virtually every AEW fan. They'll come to LA to sign their contract this Saturday on pay-per-view at AEW Full Gear. There are many wrestlers on the free market right now. Many released from WWE, from MLW. Some have just been independent for a while. I thought we could rotate picks, maybe take 4 or 5 each on who you think it could be. I'm going to start this off and first say Will Ospreay. Will has been working without a contract, so wherever he was, he's just doing, a few shows or a contract that was super short. He's shown up in Impact, TNA, but fans know and love Will in AEW, at least AEW fans, and he's shown his face around there a lot. I think he is a viable pick. I'm going to throw it to you, Michael. What do you think? Who do you think could be this person?
Well, I think that there's only one person, as my number one seed pick that it could possibly be. It's a former world champion, one of the icons of the wrestling business, not been in our sights for a while, but it could only be the bro, Vince Russo himself.
Bro, that's your first pick, bro? Oh, that's what I'm gonna steal one of your lines. It's a bold move, Cotton. See if it works. My next pick is Mercedes Moné. We saw her at All In London, and she was they kind of hid her boot for the injury she had on her foot, leg, whatever it was, and but they did show her in the crowd, and they even mentioned her. Well, I kind of think that has had plenty of time to heal. Could be Mercedes Moné. What do you think?
I think there's always potential there. What we do know is that wherever she signs next, it's going to be huge.
Huge.
She is a nuclear bomb waiting to go off because, man, she has not lost any momentum in the wrestling world, and wherever she is next, it's just going to explode. Next thought that came to my mind, former WWE was released recently. Many time Intercontinental Champion Shelton Benjamin came to mind. His most recent time in WWE felt like it was going to be something cool with the Hurt Locker, and then for one reason or another, it just fell apart. And it would be cool to see him show up and actually, being on the tail end of his career, we could imagine doing something really, really cool in AEW land. So Shelton Benjamin came to mind.
He's on my list too. That's a great one. There's one that he had talked about. He wanted to have one last match, or wanted to have a farewell tour of sorts. There's some other players he's been around and feuded with in the past, so maybe he comes back and does that one more time. They've tried to get the champ going with Wardlow. Why not get the original Bill Goldberg? I don't know if it's going to happen or not, but I could see. The only thing one aspect is his tweet said, well respected by every AEW fan. I don't know that Bill Goldberg necessarily fits that bill, but he's a name.
No pun intended.
Yeah, exactly. What are you thinking here?
I don't want to see him headbutt more doors and they hired a couple people in WWE to make sure he didn't do that before his matches. All credit to Bill. I'm struggling to find words here because I'm trying to be nice. All credit to Bill, industry icon. Whether you agree or not, but maybe it's time to just be good with what's been accomplished. So yeah. But yeah, another name that came to mind, multiple time WWE World Heavyweight Champion, been quiet for a while after getting into some trouble. But somebody coming out of the woodwork could be Alberto El Patron.
Ooh,
thought that might be interesting.
That's a good one. I hadn't thought about that. I thought you were getting ready to say a riddle.
No.
Just by your explanation.
But Alberto El Patron, from what I know, he's blacklisted. But when you got a fan like Tony Khan, maybe we can overlook stuff like that.
Maybe you can. Someone else, actually, since you got Shelton Benjamin, Mustafa Ali. That could be I think he's well respected because he almost had the AEW vibe of mid-carder in NXT. And so I wonder if he's not the one that shows up. I don't know. We'll find out a little bit later on tonight. You got another pick?
I got one more, one comment on Mustafa. I think he's like the Rudy of the wrestling world right now. You just want to see him win one.
Dude,
come on.
Come out on top, please.
Okay. But my last one, and we teased this at the time of his release in hopes that this could happen, But man, how cool would it be to see Dolph Ziggler show up for one last run and maybe even work with his brother over in AEW?
Yep. I was at, and I haven't talked about this yet. We're going to wait till we get closer to the movie actually releasing, but I went to the world premiere of the Iron Claw, and his brother was there walking the red carpet. And I yelled at him. I asked him how his brother was doing. And he goes, he's my brother.
Such a typical answer.
Exactly.
He sucks.
Here's the deal too, is I wonder if the person that's signing is not also the person wearing the devil mask. I mean, there's been no guarantee. There hasn't been any mention, and there hasn't been any proclamation that they're going to unmask the person wearing the devil mask at this pay-per-view tonight. But you kind of hope that after 2 months something happens. At least you get a little hint, and it kind of seems like the right time, right place that you've been building up, and this would be the place that you might do it. If we missed anyone you think it could be, why don't you chime in and do it before the pay-per-view tonight with your speculation on who could be the one signing on the dotted line with AEW tonight at Full Gear. Listen, that's just about it. That's about all the time we have for this week. But before we go, we do have a new Wrestle Chat podcast question of the week. Survivor Series is coming up next weekend. Of course, a big Thanksgiving tradition. Right now, it's 4-on-4 with Judgment Day versus Cody Rhodes' crew. But if it's true that Drew McIntyre is now in Judgment Day, that would make it 5-on-4, unless Randy Orton returns to be the 5th member of Cody's team. So our question this week is, do you anticipate seeing Randy Orton return, probably Monday, to be Team Cody's 5th member to go up against the Judgment Day? Chime in and tell us why you think what you think. It's up on our Instagram. It'll be up all week, and we'll share your comments on next weekend's show. Michael, you ready for Thanksgiving next week?
Oh, buddy, am I ever. I've bought new belts about 4 sizes larger than I have now. I've got the sweatpants picked out. I am ready to eat myself sick, be horizontal, and watch some Survivor Series.
This reminds me of a great quote from a very prominent movie, and seems fitting here. Sometimes grown men like to wear stretchy pants. I'm looking forward to hanging with you again next week. For Michael Glevin, I'm the Ant-Man, and we'll see you on the next Wrestle Chat podcast. Yep.